After a long and anticipated break, we are back for the final round of the F2 2023 season, and will it go down to the last race, or will it be wrapped up in the sprint race? But before that, let's look back at a really good F3 Macau Grand Prix. Welcome to Formula Talk. My name is Sophia, and joining me today, returning back to help co-host, it is George. Hello.
Afternoon, Sophia. Glad to be back.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm excited. I've been waiting for F2 to come back. It's since Monza was the last time we raced, so it has been a lot going on, and we got a lot of things to cover and a lot of news as well in the support series sphere. But before we get into this episode, we must thank our sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for your baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games, available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on all the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And also, make sure you're following us on all our social media channels at Grid Talk UK to stay up to date with this show and also our sister show, Grid Talk. Macau Grand Prix, we previewed it, myself and Tom, last week. We made some crazy predictions. Some of it came true, I think. Some of them, we had a really big outlier, and it was very similar to how it went down at F4, where it was a clean sweep. But let's look at some of the standings. So in free practice 1, we had Gabriel Mini take the top with Luke Browning in P2 and Richard Pashore, who I flagged would actually have a really good race weekend. In free practice 2, Paul Aaron take the top spot, Luke Browning again taking P2, and Mary Boyer in P3. Qualifying, very different from Formula 4. There was 2 sets of qualifying. In qualifying 1, Gabriel Mini took the top with Luke Browning again in P2. You can see the pattern coming in. And Dino Bogdanovic in P3. Quali 2, slightly different. Luke Browning took the top spot. Gabriel Mini took P2 and Dino Bogdanovic P3. So pretty much the same in both quali. So because of that, they combined the best times, and the overall qualifying results was Browning in P1 and Mini in P2 and Dino P3. Big gaps, well, actually no, not really big gaps. It was a 205.435 for Luke, and then it was a 205.441 for Mini, so very close to each other. Qualifying race, there's 2 retirees, Dan Ticktum and Hugo on the first lap, which out of 10. But the podium was Luke Browning, Alex Dunn, which is a high-tech 1-2, and Gabriel Mini in P3. Alex jumped from P6 to P2 and was 2.097 seconds behind Luke. Now I'm going to pass off to George for the feature race because there was a lot that went on, and if no one's seen the highlights, you can watch it on YouTube. It is actually quite a great race to see.
Yeah, that was going to be the point that I made as well, is that it's a totally free race weekend, like you guys were saying in the preview as well, which I think is amazing. People talk about the paywall in Formula 1. Well, there is no paywall. All you have to do is go on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure the full live stream will still probably be there as well for everything. So yeah, Luke Browning just bossed it, really. That's what I've put in my notes. He fended off Bogdanovic, into the first corner on the second lap. Shenanigans in the meantime. I'll be honest, I've never actually watched the Macau Grand Prix live. I've watched bits throughout, but looked at the history of it obviously in the past, but I never actually watched it live. So I did that for the first time this year, and I was thoroughly entertained by seeing the F3 cars and seeing all the guys from different categories and everything all combining for this one race just to see who was the top dog in F3, and it was Brown who came out on top with that. Dennis Hauger put in a great drive. He came over in second, and Mini rounded up the podium in third. I just got as well. I mean, the circuit, if anybody's not seen an attempt to probably try and get Formula 1 cars going around there. So it's a very unique event. If you've never seen it before, do go watch it on YouTube. I couldn't recommend it enough. I had a thoroughly good time watching it. I'm sure you did as well, Sophia.
Yeah, it was very chaotic. We had a lot of DNFs as well come in, but there were 7 different constructors in the top 10. Some of the biggest jumps was Richard Pashore, who was from P12 to P6. Oliver Guther came from P21 to P9. Dan Ticktum, who was on the bottom row of the grid, came into P13. I'll mention Sophia first because she was one of the discussion points we had in the preview show. She finished P11 from P15 and was the highest out of the Van Amersfoort Racing's, the 3 drivers. But yeah, to be fair, it was a non-F3 points kind of race, but it'll be interesting to see them to add it on. Obviously, it doesn't follow suit with F1's calendar, so it won't happen, but it made it really interesting to see. And there were some red flags. We had a car that burst into flames, which was Paul Aron. Luckily, safely, he was able to climb out and was deemed fine. It was just, yeah, no idea how it was even allowed, but how it even happened, but crazy to think. And it's only 15 laps, so it's not even like that long to watch. You could watch it, I mean, after the red flag, which was an hour, it was only probably about, 30 minutes of racing of that. But yeah, let's move on to some news. If you haven't listened to Grid Talk's preview of Abu Dhabi, or will be when this episode gets released, we have some drivers who will be taking place in the free practice of F1 in Abu Dhabi. Isaac Hajar will be in the Red Bull, returning during his break in F2. Vesely will be back again in the Mercedes. The reigning F2 champion Felipe Drugovich is back in the Aston Martin. Doohan is in the Alpine, and this is also Doohan's last F2 season, which is crazy to think about. F3 runner-up and 2024 F2 driver Williams Academy Zach O'Sullivan will be in the Williams. Teo Porcher will come back in the Alfa Romeo on what could be his winning weekend, and Haas will have Ollie Behrman. That's 1 F2 champion, an F3 runner-up, and 5 current F2 drivers. And speaking of 5, if you've enjoyed this podcast, we would love it if you would take 5 to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're one of the 72% of people who have not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider helping us out with a like, share, subscribe, and follow. Previewing Abu Dhabi. I've been waiting for this. I'm so excited. Final race. We have some contenders coming down. We have Teo Porcher, Frederick Vesty, and Iwasa still in contention. I think it's going to go down to the feature race. It won't be wrapped up into the sprint. Pretty much each of them have led the championship at one stage during the 2023 season and have at least a pole and a feature race victory. Teo has 191 points, followed by Vesty, which is 166, and Iwasa 100. Prema in general, though, have been quick all year. Pretty much have won both races in single weekends 3 times already. So it looks very more likely to be Vesty, maybe, who knows. Teo has never had a podium in Abu Dhabi, going back in both F2 and F3. Vesty is also the most recent winner, taking the win out of the 3 in the Monza Sprint, which was actually the last weekend F2 took place. Who should take, George? Who do you think out of those 3, who is more likely to wrap up this championship?
If you look at the points gap, the heavy favourite has to be Teo Porcher. And you look at Porcher's history in F2, I think this is probably his 3rd or 4th season in F2. Obviously, he joined very young. I think he was only 17 when he joined F2. It's been coming for a long time. He has been touted as a future Formula 1 driver, a future Sauber, Alfa Romeo, potentially Audi, whatever the name of the team is when he eventually gets in there. He's been touted as that for a very long time. The points gap is a big one, not an insurmountable one, of course. There's still a lot to play for. And like you as well, I think it'll probably go down to the feature. I imagine Vesty and potentially Iwasa as well will still be in the fight going into that. But like you said, it's not a good track for him. He's never done well in Abu Dhabi before. And I watched the highlights of the sprint and feature race from last year before doing this call. And yeah, it was not a good weekend for Porsche, or Vesty, really, particularly for that matter. Iwasa, though, he won the feature race in Abu Dhabi last year. Now, obviously, some people may say, oh, the championship was rounded up by then. They had nothing to fight for. They weren't trying. To that, I say that's a load of rubbish. Those guys go and give 100% all the time. They're always in the shop window, especially in F2. It's called the road to F1 for a reason. You've always got to impress. You're not allowed an off weekend. Simple as that. So yeah, I think Porsche is very much the heavy favourite, but he's going to have the pressure on him. Vesty and Iwasa, they've got nothing to lose. They're just going to go for it. And I expect them both to do very well, particularly Iwasa in Yas Marina, but it all depends on Porsche. All he has to do is get some solid points in both races, but it's Formula 2. All the cars are even. The drivers are all going to be trying, and everybody else is obviously trying to impress too. So it's going to be a frantic and eventful weekend in F2, I'm sure.
Definitely. And we actually have some driver changes as well. We have Paul Aaron is making his debut in Formula 2. He's replacing Clement Novalak for the final race in Trident. Franco Colapinto will be replacing Jehan Darubla for the MP. He is also confirmed to be in the MP's 2024 seat alongside Dennis Hauger next season. Be interesting to see for that. Looking back, though, pretty much the first F2 race dated back in 2017. It is the same circuit length, obviously, as F1, so the 5.281 kilometers. The sprint race will be 23 laps, taking place on Saturday, and the feature race is, I believe, still being determined, because I have heard it was like 28 laps, but then I've heard 29. It's not even on the website how much is actually on the feature race, how many laps, which is surprising. The circuit record is currently held by F1 driver Oscar Piastri back in 2021 with the fastest lap of a 1:35.077. Looking at qualifying last year, it was Iwasa who took pole, followed by Roy Nissany in P2, which is surprising to say. Terry Porcher was P3, and then in the reverse grid, Rishore was on pole, Liam Lawson was in P2, and Amir Cordial was in P3. Sprint race, podium, pretty much two drivers who are not involved in Formula 2 anymore. Liam Lawson took top podium. Richard Rishore came in P2, and Felipe Drugovich in P3. And as George has mentioned, Iwasa did win the feature race last year. Felipe Drugovich was in P2 and Liam Lawson was in P3. So it really is anybody's game. Looking back, even Porcher DNF'd in the feature race. You have Vessi that finished P11. It's very interesting to see what's going to happen. Obviously, Iwasa. George, what do you think? Who is your podiums, your pole, and your bold prediction for this final race in F2?
Oh, going straight in this. I'm gonna say for the sprint, I think. Oh no, we'll go with pole first. Let's go pole for Iwasa because he was very good around Yas Marine. I think he's going to boss the feature race, which I will get onto. Sprint race, I'll say that Vesti will win it. I'll put Behrman in second. He's coming off for winning this feature in Monza. He has seriously impressed me this year as well. Again, I was saying about Porcher being younger. Behrman's even younger. What he's doing is unbelievable. So see him I'm sure he did a practice session in an F1 car for Ferrari not that long ago as well. So yeah, really excited to see what the future holds for him. Third place, I'll put Jack Doohan. And I think for the feature, I'll put Iwasa in for the victory. I'll put Porcher in P2. I think that'll see him through to the championship. And P3, let's chuck Island support. Let's do some Island support. Zane Maloney in for a podium. I've got to do one last time in 2023.
Yeah, I didn't even say him for Macau, so I feel like I definitely got to do that. But F2, there's a lot of drivers that are still not confirmed for next year, and he's one of them. Obviously, we've mentioned that they might be dropped from Red Bull's development driving for next season as well. Yeah, interesting. I think I'm following a little bit of suit. I think Paul will be Behrman because that Prema is just fast in general, and I think it will just add some more fuel to the fire of the battle if Vessi didn't take pole. I think podium for a sprint will be Iwasa, then Victor Martins, and Isaac Hajar. Let's go with an outlier for it. Feature, I think Teo will win. I think Behrman will come in P2, and I think Vesti will come in P3. So definitely go down to the wire for it. You're bold as well. We've not got to your bold prediction.
We've not set bold, have we? No. To be honest with you, I think that is Maloney podium bold? He had a few, hasn't he? It's not really. I don't know. Let's say, is it bold? Is it not? Let's say Porcher to DNF in the sprint. I think I'm not putting him on the podium. I've put him to win the championship. I put him to come second in the feature and see it through. But I feel like there'll be some drama where it's just, oh no, it's letting it slip. He's bottling it, something like that after the first one. But he'll come back to get a good result in the future.
Okay, interesting. I'm going to go a little bit left field so it doesn't have to deal with the championship. I will say either Franco Colapinto, Paul Aaron, and also I'll throw in Josh Mason if he is racing it. I can't see if it's confirmed or not if he's going to be doing Abu Dhabi. I think one of those three will be in the points. Pretty much any of the drivers who have not had a full F2 season will get points in the final race of the F2 2023 season. We'll see. Timings of it, again, those who might be listening to Formula Talk for the first time ever, pretty much they have a single free practice on the Friday, followed by the qualifying session. There's a sprint race on the Saturday and the feature race on Sunday. The sprint race will be in between F1's free practice 3 and qualifying. The feature race is obviously before the F1 race, and then the free practice will be the first event of the race weekend for both F1 and F2, and then qualifying will be in between the free practices in F1. So pretty much all kind of mixed in. So if you're like me, I just don't leave my apartment for the weekend because I'm just watching everything from F2 to F1, especially when it's an F3 weekend as well. You just don't, there's no breaks whatsoever. It's from 7 in the morning sometimes all the way till probably about 5 p.m. in the evening. So it's a great weekend, and I'm excited to see the season end. I like how it's gone down to the last wire, not been settled in Monza. It's been a great season so far, and we will be reviewing the entire F2 season in an episode, same with the Formula 3 season and the F1 Academy season, during that break while we wait for 2024 to return. Looking into 2024, we have a few news. Jack Crawford has decided to leave Red Bull junior driver, but has confirmed a 2024 seat, but not announced which team. The current Super Formula champion of Ritamaro Manada, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, I will learn it by 2024. He will be in the F2 seat, but not confirmed which team. 5 confirmed teams have mentioned in the other episodes, 5 drivers, to have no team. So it's looking to be quite a big shakeup. George, where do you think Jack and Minada is going to be in the seats?
I really don't know. I don't know who's got him available, really. It is interesting that Crawford's leaving Red Bull. I'm not sure if you said why he's doing that.
Dennis has done that as well. He's left Red Bull for next season as well.
See.
And then obviously it's rumored Enzo and Zayn are leaving as well.
It's a mutiny. Maybe they've seen how they treat their drivers when they get to F1 and think, you know what? I don't want a piece of that, which I wouldn't blame them. That is a huge exodus from Red Bull. If all of them do leave, obviously some of them have left. So, yeah, very interesting there. There's who's left at that point. Is Deruvala still a member of Red Bull? No, he's left too. He's not been doing particularly well, bless him either. So, yeah, it's like who's going to be left? Who's going to potentially recruit instead of them? Very interesting. What about Wasser? Is he staying?
No idea. He's not even confirmed for a seat for next season yet either as well.
I suppose it's unlikely he'll win the championship, but if he were to win the championship, he can't stay. That's the rule, isn't it? You can't stay in F2 if you win the championship. That's probably why. But yeah, fascinating. I'm interested to see what some of these guys have to offer that are coming into F2. It'll be sad to see some of them leave, obviously. But yeah, and another question as well is if Porsche does win the championship, as I've predicted, and as I think going off your results you've predicted effectively as well, then it's like, where does he go? Because we spoke about it before, where does he go? Because he's obviously a Sauber Academy driver, but Bottas and Joe both confirmed will become Sauber for next year. Where does Porsche go? Does he go to Super Formula like Liam Lawson and people like that have? It's interesting. I guess he'd be a reserve driver officially if he's not already.
Yeah, I think he is the development and reserve driver, I think, or testing driver for BRT, though, because obviously he's with Victor Martins, the Alpine junior driver as well. Who knows? The only other driver that's part of the Red Bull Junior is Isaac Hajar with the high tech, but obviously he is alongside Jack Crawford currently. But again, we don't know if they've re-signed. High Tech has re-signed Jack. They could go to other teams for it. I don't know. And then Doohan, obviously, last season as well, he's dropping out. I think, obviously, Jehan has dropped out because he's going into Formula E, PHM Racing. I think Roy has said it might be his last season as well, which will be interesting. can't forget Ralph Boschon as well, the oldest standing driver as well. But it's interesting. I don't know. Even the Super Formula champion as well. I don't know where fit. Maybe Dams. I wouldn't even know because there's no real kind of connection to Super Formula and Formula 2 as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. What is the kind of pecking order of all this? Where does it all fit in? And it's difficult to put a number on it. And like we've seen as well it's not a very much topic for today, but things like the Formula Academy driver going to Freca, I believe it is Formula 4, effectively, which is, I thought it would have been F3. Or at least you think it'd be in that order, but yeah, no, it's a tough one. And there's a lot. I'm just looking at the official roster, what's confirmed for next year, and there's a lot of TBAs. Most of the grid is still undecided, and then one of the teams undecided as well, what they'll actually be called, which is, I'm not sure which one that is. Is that what used to be Charouz? I think they've changed the name for this year, haven't they?
Yeah, PHM Racing. That's Roy Nassani and Josh Mason's team, because it was Charouz and then changed to PHM Racing by Charouz, and then Charouz dropped off mid.
So they're like PHM.
Yeah.
Next year coming up, it's interesting. I'm interested to see where they go. But like you said, there are some guys that are probably not going to come back. I mean, like Roy Nassani and Ralph Bosch up there, nearly as old as me. But I think Nassani might actually be older than me. Let's have a look.
I wonder if he's 24 or 25.
28. He's the same age as me.
No way. And he's still in F2. I'm sorry.
He's older than me as well. He turns 29 in 9 days, 30th of November. Yeah, for a junior driver, he is older than a significant amount of the F1 grid, including that triple world champion now, Max Verstappen. And
also, I think one of the F2 drivers is 17, 18 as well. That's a thing as well. Literally a decade.
Yeah. Bevan's 18 now. Oh my God.
Between that. Oh. That's absolutely crazy. Oh my God. Yeah. It should be interesting. We'll definitely be covering some of the new transfer throughout the season during the off season for it, but there's a lot to play for. And even looking at Formula 3, Prema's the only team with confirmed drivers. They have all three of their drivers announced, which we did cover in the previous episode of Formula Talk. But nobody else has confirmed their drivers as well. Lots of seats available, but who's going to take them? We don't know. We do have a new F1-backed driver for F1 Academy, which is Leah Block, who is backed by Williams, and she'll be driving alongside the McLaren-backed Bianca for the ART team. Block is also part of the Williams Driver Academy, and those who are unfamiliar for her, because she hasn't grown up on the European circuit racing, she has been involved in Extreme E, Rally, and Nitro Cross next. And if you recognize the last name Block, her father, the late rally driver Ken Block, who passed away in January this year. So I love how the family is still getting involved. And I've seen clips of her driving as well. I'm excited to see how she's moved from Extreme E, Rally, the off-roading into kind of the circuit style. I'm really excited, but those are our only two drivers confirmed for F1 Academy so far. What's your take on Leah coming into the circuit style?
That's amazing. That's an incredible story. Yeah, obviously, like you mentioned, the great Ken Block, God bless his soul. I absolutely love watching him. I was first introduced to him, and I think when he came on Top Gear, and I was like, whoa, this guy's sick. That's what a 15-year-old George thought anyway. I'd probably use a different word now, but yeah, no, he was unbelievable. And he competed in WRC for a little bit as well, just so the guy was not just a show pony. He could really race those cars around dirt tracks. So I'll be very fascinated to see that. Many moons ago, we saw what Kimi Räikkönen was like in Rally, and it did not go particularly well. However, I do think going the other way is relatively straightforward. You don't have to worry about trees lining the outside of racing circuits in circuit racing. Not that it's easy by any means, not that I'm going to make out, anybody could do it surely, but I think going the other way, if anything, it should be a lot easier for her. I'll be very fascinated to see how she does in the Formula Academy next year.
Yeah, the American driver as well. So obviously F1 Academy is going to be racing in Austin next year as well. I didn't know that Ken Block was also the co-owner of DC Shoes. My my emo younger preteen self loved those shoes growing up with the checkerboard prints and everything. Oh, but yeah, when I was researching everything for this episode, crazy. I'm excited that we have American on the grid as well. I think having not just European, and you do also have Bianca as well, who is from the Philippines. I think having more than just the basic European countries represented, I think will also show more the global aspect and even just the growth of what racing can be for females, which is people in general in the sport, and the fact that it's following the F1 calendar as well. I'm really excited to see how that goes. But yeah, that season starts coming up. I believe Saudi Arabia is the first race of the F1 Academy season. So we'll be covering all the news for that leading up to the season starting with any new drivers that come in. Still 8 teams that have not confirmed their back drivers, and then 5 that are backed by F1 Academy as well. So hopefully in the next couple months, we will get more news, especially also again F3 and the remaining F2 seats. But yeah, I'm so excited for this season to end. Should be a good one, and we'll be back next week to review to see who is the champion of F2 for the 2023 season. Formula Talk is available on YouTube, where most of the episodes are published, not recorded live. Pretty much as well, you can find us on Amazon Fire, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, Verbal, and Pocket Cast. Just search Grid Talk to find our back catalog and also our sister show of Grid Talk covering everything F1, that is qualifying and race results and previews. Please consider supporting our channel on Patreon so we can get mics, lights, and better recording equipment. And also make sure you are subscribed so you're the first to know when each new episode is released. As mentioned, we'll be back soon with plenty of motorsport content. Thank you, George, for joining me today. Always nice to have you back on.
Thank you. I'm glad I've come back on. I do enjoy listening to yours and Tom's show on this regularly, and yeah, it's good to be back on.
Awesome. And thank you very much for listening to Formula Talk, presented by Bet Online. Goodbye.